Hello, everyone, and welcome to our partner seminar series here at the Center on Disability Studies at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I'm Holly Manaseri, Interim Director, and I'm so pleased to welcome you today. The purpose of our partner seminars is to share about the broad range of partnerships we have here at the center and highlight individual organizations in our community, let them share a little bit about their mission, the services that they provide, and ways to collaborate with them. So we will be recording this session and sharing it on our CDS YouTube channel, and we hope we will open this up to questions and answers at the end. So you can also feel free to put any questions in the chat, and we'll be moderating that and facilitating that. So at this time, I'm so pleased to welcome our featured partner, Access to Independence, and our speaker today, Mr. Brock Lyle, Youth Services Coordinator. He will be sharing about Access to Independence mission and vision, the referral process, and a range of services, and then specifically highlighting the Youth Transition Program. And Brock, I'm so pleased to just turn this right over to you so you can introduce yourself and a little bit about your background as well. So welcome so much. We're just delighted to have you as really a valued partner. For some of us, we know that Access to Independence was one of our exhibitors last year at PACRAM. We've been in similar circles and seen you at a number of different events. Always delighted to hear about you and the work that you're doing. So turn it right over to you. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, sounds good. Wow. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Holly. I'm going to try my best to keep that expectation throughout the presentation. But as Holly so extensively explained, what I'm going to be doing right now is just explain a little bit about who we are as an organization, the type of assistance that we can offer to those who have significant forms of disabilities and they are trying to live a little bit more independently. And then of course, as the slide is showing, I'm going to be highlighting the Youth Transition Program, also called the ʻŌpio program. And this program, so I'm going to describe it a little bit more later on. But it's for people between the ages of 14 to 24. Now, that's just a program that I'm going to be highlighting. But as Holly mentioned, I'm going to be describing as a whole the organization and the programs that we offer here. Okay, so on the screen is my office email, my office phone number. And now for those who may be visually impaired, who might be attending this presentation or possibly trying to experience the recorded version of it, I'm going to go ahead and try to verbally describe the pictures on the screen, just so everyone can actually partake in this presentation. So the picture on the screen is pretty much where our offices are located. So if anybody knows the United Way building, it's close to Ala Streets, right across the street from Salvation Army. This is where we're located, so it's on the 5th floor. And about our referral process, essentially, as long as someone qualifies for our services, so has a form of a significant disability, and they do live in our service area. So I am more than welcome to send our service area to anyone who is interested, but we cover about 60% of this island. So basically, if you live in the Honolulu area, or maybe most of the windward side, you are most likely be in our service area. But I can describe a little bit more detail for you later for that, but just essentially reach out to us in whichever way is more comfortable to you. My office number, our direct line, the email address, whichever way, let us know you're in need of assistance, what type of assistance that you need, and then we can take over from there. Okay, so that's my brief introduction. Do we have any questions? Any questions on the chat, or should I move on?
No
No?
question.
Okay, yeah. So just Because of the essence of time, I'm just going to wait for questions until the very end. But as Holly mentioned, please, please, please feel encouraged to send any questions in the chat box, and I will try my best to answer anything that you have. Okay, let's go. Okay. So let's just briefly summarize the presentation before I jump on. So I'm going to be talking about who we are as an organization first, and then the programs that we offer here at Access to Independence, and then the core services. Now we have core services that are built into every single one of our programs. So I'm going to cover that. And then last but certainly not least, our ʻŌpio program. Okay. Now, who we are as an organization. So we are a nonprofit. We are a center for independent living. So if anybody here that's viewing this presentation has a disability and they are considering maybe moving to another state, keep track of that name, Center for Independent Living. So it is the type of nonprofit that we are. So there are other Center for Independent Livings out there. So of course, if you're living in our service areas, we would be your center for independent living. But hey, say you're moving to Vegas, say you're moving to California, keep track of that word, Center for Independent Living, because our organizations, the organizations like us, are the ones that can help you to live more independent. Now, I need to emphasize that we are a non-residential center. So there are some Center for Independent Livings that are residential centers, but of course, if anybody is aware of the housing situation in Hawaii, it's pretty difficult to have a residential center. So that's unfortunately nothing that we offer, but of course, we can offer assistance any other way. Now, this is our mission statement, and this is probably one of the reasons why we were offered to come present a little bit, because this is what our organization stands for. Our mission is to promote full participation of people with disabilities to help them to maintain, sustain, and maximize their independence. So essentially, everything that we do revolves around that. So if someone is wanting assistance in somewhere in that form, to wanting to maintain their independence, sustain their independence, or increase it in some form, that's a very, very vague term. That's how we can offer assistance in many, many, many categories. So the picture on the screen is an individual who is looks like standing on the sidewalk with their hands out in front of them with change and a handwritten note that says, "Make a change." Okay, so that is about us a little bit. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so these are our programs here at Access to Independence, and we actually have 5 main programs. So from the left to the right, let me talk about them just briefly. So I've already touched up on the youth transition program. So as I stated before, it's for individuals between the ages of 14 to 24 who have some form of a significant disability and then are transitioning into adulthood and want to live more independently within the community. And then after that, we have the Independent Living Skills Program, so also called INA program. So under this program, a wide range of skills are needed to live independently and manage life with a disability. So hands-on skills training through this program is available to people with disabilities in almost any topic. So we try to work with individuals to help them to increase their skills, to help gain more control of their lives, such as employment advocacy, housing advocacy, independent living skills workshops, which includes cooking skills and home management. So that's just an example. But of course, if you're talking about independent living skills, there's a wide variety of skills that you can include in that category. So the potential of this program, there's a lot. that we could offer it. And, we love hearing feedback from the community about what types of services that we can offer. So, if I didn't list anything and there's some type of assistance that you're wanting related to that, let me know. Okay, so independent living skills program. So after that is the voting advocacy program, also called the Koho Balota. So under this one, it's an ongoing program that assists people with disabilities to register and vote either at the polls or by absentee ballots. So this program provides assistance for all elections, regardless of when they're held, but with special emphasis on the period prior to general elections. So essentially, we try to work to get to help someone gain a voice when normally they might not have one. So we feel that's very important that all of our consumers here have a voice when they want one. Okay, next one, transition and diversion program, also called Ho'olilo. So with this one, to facilitate the transition of individuals with significant disabilities from nursing homes and other institutions to home and community-based residences with the requisite supports and services, and provide assistance to individuals with significant disabilities who are at risk of entering institutions so that the individuals may remain in the community. So with this one, in layman's terms, if anyone due to their disability is at risk of going into a nursing home, going into a hospital, then we might be able to provide assistance to them with things such as like medical equipment, maybe hand bar installation, minor home modifications to allow them to remain in community-based living. Whereas in the other way around, the diversion part of that program, or excuse me, the transition part, if they are transitioning out of those facilities into more community-based settings, we can provide some sort of assistance to them so that they can remain in community-based settings. Because if you remember with our mission statement, everything is all about allowing full participation of people with disabilities. So they deserve the right, people deserve the right, regardless of whether someone has a disability or not, people deserve the right to live in the community of their choosing. So we try to advocate for that right. Okay, so after the transition and diversion program, we had the last but certainly not least, the vision program, also called VIA. Now with this one, depending on consumers' independent living needs, we can teach the use of mobile devices like phones, tablets, and Victor Reader Stream, which is a book and audio player. We can also teach JAWS, which is Job Access with Speech, NVDA, which is a non-visual desktop access, and Zoom text. Now with this program, they also have a monthly peer support get-together, which is called Vision Access. So if you know anyone that might be losing their vision, or unfortunately has lost their vision, maybe they born with a sensory disability, this is a group, a monthly support group that they can get together and they can learn off of each other. So definitely keep that in mind. But yes, this is our 5 programs. So I'm going to move on to our core services. Now, keep in mind, we have 5 core services and all of them fit into these programs, every single one of them. Okay. Now, I'm just going to list off the services, and then in the next few slides, I'm going to describe them a bit more into detail. Okay, so we have our information and referral services, system/individual advocacy, that's one service, transition service, independent living skills, and then peer support. Now, the picture on the screen is white puzzle pieces with one blue puzzle piece. The blue puzzle piece is out of the white puzzle pieces, and it says our services on the blue puzzle piece. Okay. All right, so core areas. So the information and referral services. So as the slide says, we link people with services that we offer and resources that are available to them, which will meet their needs and help resolve a problem they are experiencing. So with this service, everyone can receive this service regardless of disability. So basically what this is saying is if someone is reaching out to us, requesting information on something, we will try to relay information to this person. We will try to assist them as much as we can. So this service, you don't have to necessarily qualify for our programs to receive this. Okay, then after that, we have system/individual advocacy. So with this one, we work with an individual or a group to advocate for themselves in order to resolve an issue, obtain needed support, and promote a change in practices and policies. So according to the cdc.gov, individuals with disabilities experience mental distress almost 5 times as often as peers. So with advocacy, we will help them, or at least try to help them to be their biggest supporter. So if they have any challenges with daily living, we will try to provide legal resources for them for change. Now, the picture on the screen is an example of system advocacy. So what this is, it looks like this is in Honolulu, and mostly men on the sidewalk marching. And one of them at the front, it says Men's March Against Violence. So they're marching to advocate for a system change. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, next one we have our transition core service. So with transition, split into two, youth transition. So of course, transitioning into adulthood, and then the transition within the transition and diversion. So basically transitioning into more community-based living. So of course, youth transitioning from high school to adulthood, and then try to empower them to live more independently with assistance with like housing, employment, and furthering education. While the transition, and diversion aims to assist them moving from nursing facilities or any hospitals into a more community-based setting. Okay. And then the picture on the screen is 2 railroad tracks, and as you can see, is transitioning into one. Now, independent living skills, that's a core service in and of itself. So as you can imagine, all of the programs incorporate some form of independent living skills because of course, this is a very, very important subject when you're trying to live more independently. So with this core service, we provide workshops to develop independent living skills in areas such as personal or home management, resume building, financial management, and social skills. So personal management, what I'm meaning by that is personal care things, such as like helping them figure out how to cook, helping them with the helping individuals with the laundry, helping individuals learn how to shop correctly. Social skills, we do have peer support, monthly peer supports, or even we could even just recommend recreational activities. So if it's important to their independence, as I mentioned before, we can provide assistance in some area. Okay, and then the last core service is peer support. So under peer support, we provide, peer counseling through listening, teaching, and information sharing during meetings with other consumers. So it's important to come to terms with the fact that, if someone is experiencing some mental hardship, they're not alone with the experiences that they have. So of course, peer support is meant to be a safe place that you can talk about your problems without judgment and receive feedback from others who might have experienced the same issue. So this could be one-on-one, which I've personally had, one-on-one counseling, I suppose you can say, but or group. So this is all consumer driven. It's up to the individual what they're comfortable with. So the picture on the screen is it looks like a group of friends. They're looking out into the bay. They have their arms over each other, and they're all facing the same direction. So I supposed to symbolize peer support. Okay. So I'll go ahead and move on from the core areas. So keep in mind, just remember if you happen to have any questions, I'll be more than happy to hear it at the end. So just please keep those in mind and let me know. All right, so what is independent living? So it's kind of like these things that, you would expect there would be a common answer to this. But when you really think about it, there's not. Because what independence might mean to you will mean something different to somebody else. So really, you can't fully define what independent living is, but you can set some sort of parameters of how you gauge whether someone is living more independently or not. So before I jump right into the ʻŌpio program, let's explain a little bit more about our process. So I'm going to first start with more like philosophical of, what is independent living. And then I'm going to talk about our philosophy based off of that mindset. So what is independent living? Yeah, I've summed it up into like 4 main things of what this is. And if anybody disagrees, I would love to hear. But 4 main things: self-determination. So independent living, that's pretty much what it is. You control your own direction. So we provide guidance and resources to get you there. Independent living is the right and the opportunity to pursue a course of action. There's nobody to say that you can't do something. Independent living is freedom to fail, but to learn from one's mistakes. Sometimes you can learn more from your mistakes than your actual achievements. And independent living is to be as self-sufficient as possible. Now, I do think it's important to emphasize, especially when you're talking about anyone who has a disability, who's trying to overcome their challenges. It's important to emphasize as possible. So just because someone can't be, fully independent, whatever that means, doesn't exactly mean they can't be more independent than they currently are. Okay, so now that we've set some parameters about what independent living is, and I hope we're all on the same page. Let's talk about how access to independence falls in on that. Okay, so we are all consumer-driven decision making and service delivery. So we don't dictate direction at Access to Independence. We try to assess someone's situation, learn what they're trying to get from our services, and then just make suggestions. It's self-help and advocacy. So we try to teach you to be your biggest supporter. It's building peer relationships and peer role models. Finding support among your peers is crucial for self-growth and self-development. I'm sure everyone would agree with that. Equal access for people with disabilities to all services, programs, activities, resources, and facilities in society. So you deserve the right to live in the community the exact same way everyone else does. And of course, lastly, were run by people with disabilities who themselves have been successful in establishing independent lives. And that's including other coworkers. And for those who read my biography, me as well. So we all have stories to share about trying to overcome our challenges and living independent lives. So, who else to help other people with disabilities than those with disabilities themselves? So, I love the opportunity to be here. And if anybody is listening to this who would like some assistance, get my information down. Give me a call, send me an email. All right. So let's jump into the ʻŌpio program, the youth program. Okay, so the picture on the screen should symbolize basically what this is. Kind of like a play on street signs. Instead of the typical green metal street sign, it kind of looks like a crayon or a pencil. So the bottom part, it has childhood pointing one direction, and then adulthood pointing the other. So that's pretty much what you're going to be doing, transitioning from childhood and then starting to take on more responsibility. Okay, so imagine someone comes in or make an appointment with them, and they sit down and they're trying to figure out how to be more independent. So sometimes I get people who would like to be more independent but have absolutely no idea where to start. It's a lot more common than you may think. So it's important to first define that word. What does that mean to them? Why are they here? What does it look like for them to be more independent than they already are? So if you haven't defined that term, do that first. Try to figure out, what does that mean to you? Okay, so once I've got an idea about what type of assistance that they're wanting to get, where they're wanting to go, then I try to set at least one or basically about 1 to 3 goals, maximum about 3 goals with them within a 3-month period. Now, these goals are just simply what someone wants to achieve. So basically, I try to break up these goals into achievable blocks for someone to actually be able to achieve their goals. And then I will develop an independent living plan with clear responsibility of task delegation. So essentially, our goals break up what I'm going to be doing for the individual to help them to achieve their goal, and then what they are going to be doing to achieving their goal. And then we figure out how often we're going to meet up. So of course, it depends on the goal. If you're working on a very time sensitive issue, then maybe you want to have an appointment in about a week. But if yours isn't that crucial of an issue at the moment, then maybe you want to meet up every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every month. Maximum about a month. But we really try to work with the individual's pace. And now, with that said, I try to explain to anyone who comes through our doors that these appointments, it's it's completely up to them how they are conducted. Personally, with me, and I'm pretty sure I can speak with everyone here. I don't care if the appointments are with their friend. I don't care if they have their mom or dad with them, or you have somebody else with you. As long as the individual is comfortable, as long as the individual is talking about their goals, and as long as a person is continuing to make progress, it doesn't matter how we hold our appointments. And I think it's important that anybody who comes through our doors understands that we're not trying to rush anyone. All we're pretty much doing is trying to offer assistance, offering some help. Okay, so this is our process. Now, in the next few slides, basically the last few slides, I'm going to give you all some examples, some options, some common options that someone at this age demographic would be thinking about as far as being more independent, just to let you know about our process, how we operate a little bit. So say youth, right? Probably one of the most common ones is, someone wants to go to college. So first and foremost, I do want to emphasize for my consumers, because um, even though mistakes, or as I put it, failures are a good learning lesson, I never want anybody to fail. I never want any of my consumers to fail. So I explain to them with college, it obviously is not a small decision to make. You really have to truly think it through. If you're not thinking college through, then college could be a catastrophic mistake. But if you are fully thinking it through, you know exactly what you want to do. You've thought about how you're going to pay for college, how or what classes you're going to take, if you're going to do full time, part time, then yes, absolutely. Go for it 100%, and I will help them get set up. But they have to really think things through. So, first of all, as I mentioned, how are you going to pay for it? So, if scholarships are not within someone's capabilities, maybe they're going to be looking at FAFSA applications. I explained to them that those are loans. So you have to get ready. How are you going to do have you budgeted before? Do you know what it looks like to pay off a loan? So let's explore that option first before you decide to take out a bunch of FAFSA loans. All right. But let's say, for example, grants and scholarships are within someone's options. Then let's try to explore that option. Let's try to reach out to a career counselor, or let's see if I can help to advocate you to apply for some scholarships. So if that is an option for you, let's explore that option first. But definitely figure out how you're going to pay for college before you really start thinking too much into it. College application. What college are you going to go to? Where are you going to apply for your application? And do you even know what the deadline is to apply? These are important aspects that you need to think about. Registering for class. Do you know how to register for class? Do you need guidance? Do you need help? Um, do you know when the college orientation is? Do you need any special accommodations related to your disability? That's a big one. Time management. So I'm going to always, always, always stress time management before I recommend a consumer to go to college. But, if I have an individual who is not wanting any time management skills, but is being persistent about going to college, then we try to guide the individual. But no way are we going to be telling someone what to do. We encourage time management, but if they choose to go the hard way, then, unfortunately, so be it. Okay, so this is pretty much the process. Oh, there should be one more. Yep. Connecting consumers to resources. So essentially anything that I didn't put down, but could be related to going to college. We are always open. Well, I'm always open to networking, first of all, to understanding what is available for this type of demographic, the demographic that I serve, but also any organization that would like to work with us. I am always open to collaborating down the line as well. So any other resources that I did not mention that falls into college, we can offer assistance with. Okay, so what if they don't want to go to college? What if, they want to get a job? That's a pretty common one, of course. Maybe a student is kind of sick of school for the time being. Maybe they want to take a break. Maybe they don't want to go to college. Maybe they just want to take a year off and then think about it. That's fine. Okay, so I have an individual who wants to jump in and start earning an income. Okay, so this is the first thing that I would ask. How is your resume? Do you have a resume? Does your resume need to be updated? Do you need to create a resume? So if you're considering a job, start there first. Start exploring a resume. Get your resume looking nice. Okay. What if you have a particular job in mind? Well, A cover letter is a great way to set yourself apart and get them to consider you. And I can help with that. Interview skills preparation. So we can conduct mock interviews with the individual until they are ready, until they are comfortable, and are ready to answer the questions that they would normally be asked during an interview. So having an interview for the very first time is extremely nerve-wracking. So having a service that can constantly go over the interview skills preparation, this could be a very, very crucial experience for someone to have that can really help them get their foot in the door. So we help them to go over the answers until they're good. They're good for the interview. And of course, last but not least, we try to help them get connected to job search sites, staffing agencies, organizations. DVR is a very great resource for employers. Job fairs. There's countless things out there. So really, anybody who has an employment goal, I will exhaust all means to help them to find a job. So as long as the individual is willing to put in the effort as well for their goals, yeah, they will be fine and they will be able to find a job. There's tons of jobs out there. You just need to know where to look. Okay. So after employment, independent living skills. So I mentioned about this previously, but within the program, within the ʻŌpio program, we also have independent living skills. And in fact, it's not in the slide, but throughout this summer, we're going to be having for the youth, a financial management workshop that they can learn in a group setting on budgeting skills, and then time management workshop, which is the same thing, learn in a group setting how to effectively manage their time. But yeah, this option would probably be for someone who really doesn't know what they want to do. They don't know if they want to go to college. They don't know if they're ready to get a job just yet. So this is something that I would recommend them. Okay, so if you don't know, then start working on yourself. Start taking on responsibilities, taking on skills to slowly improve yourself and allow yourself to be a little bit more independent. Start working on these skills. Time management. So I asked them, hey, are you managing your time effectively? Do you know how to manage your time? Do you want help to do that? A lot of times this is a very first goal that I start with someone, how to effectively manage your time. Okay. Money management. So the thing that people get confused about, especially when you're dealing with individuals who have barriers, who have disabilities, is that you don't have to be good at math to be able to budget correctly. Of course, it certainly helps, but you do not have to. So, of course, money management, effective budgeting is a crucial skill that you're going to have to figure out how to do. So, I'm blessed with the experiences that I've had in life to be able to share strategies and methods that people can actually correctly budget and be able to pay their bills on time. So yeah, that's a crucial independent living skill, money management. Okay, cooking skills. So I mentioned the INA program. We have, I believe it's about like every other month, every 2 to 3 months, give or take. We have a cooking skills workshop where individuals who are interested about increasing their cooking skills can attend and learn firsthand of what it's like to actually cook a meal. And maybe they can use these skills and go home to practice. So then, not only are they saving money, but not having to eat out all the time, but, you don't have to depend on someone to cook for you. Okay. And now home management. So home management, I touched up on this, but let me just describe what I mean by home management. So home management, of course, is as the name implies, anything that is included with taking care of a home. So one thing that I ask the individuals, I ask my consumers to get them thinking about this skill is that I ask someone to think like if they were home by themselves, just them, nobody else, would they be able to manage everything that it takes in their home? And if they can't, that's where they should start. That's what they should start thinking about. What entails with managing a home? So of course that is learning how to manage and keep a schedule, creating and implementing a chores list, how to shop and buy the things that you need, how to do laundry, and of course cleaning. So there's many things that fall into home management. So we try to guide our consumers and offer assistance wherever we can in that area. Okay. So we covered what? So we covered college, we covered employment, we covered skills that someone would need to live a little bit more independently. Well, there's other forms of independence as well. So there was so I mentioned earlier, individuals with disabilities experience mental distress almost 5 times as often as peers. So when you experience emotions like this, they can be extremely constricting and can directly influence someone's independence. And maybe for someone to only improve their emotional states could allow for them to be more independent than they already are. And that's exactly why we do offer peer support, peer mentoring. So with this, we meet with people, we meet with the consumers who share similar experiences. And you'll learn that individuals who have disabilities, especially within the same age group, regardless of whether they share disabilities or not, they do share similar experiences. And this is meant to be a safe place where individuals like that can meet up and share those experiences with others who either have been through the same thing or have overcome those experiences. So this gives consumers a chance to learn tools for dealing with issues that they face. So sometimes just relating to a peer will actually give you those tools. Practice socializing. So sometimes all people need is a chance to practice. So I do know it's very common, unfortunately, with the autism spectrum disorder that's, we can tend to have a difficult time learning the skill. So we try to provide an opportunity that you can practice this and you can meet other people and hopefully make friends. And actually through this, we are having an access to independence. We have separate from peer supports, a monthly recreational slash social opportunities for our consumers. We have like a game night this month that we have card games and board games. We're basically just going to hang out and practice socializing. Next month, we have a movie night. I think we had potluck on the beach one time and animal shelter some days. So, we're trying to create opportunities for you to get out and practice and grow as an individual. So peer support is one of those tools, but if you want something a little bit less of like a one-on-one class and something that's a little bit more carefree, I encourage you to check out our recreational opportunities. Okay. Now with the peer supports, maybe you have overcome a lot of challenges. Maybe you want to have the opportunity to give back and help others. I highly encourage that. And now, for those who are listening and maybe you don't fully fit into the ʻŌpio category. So remember, so this is for individuals between the ages of 14 to 24. Now, we do have our peer support program for all age groups. That's actually called the Cross Disability Support Group. And that's held every first Thursday of the month, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Okay. And then the ʻŌpio peer support. So that's my peer support. This is every third Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next peer supports. Next one, we have 2 more slides. Okay, so transportation, travel training. All right. So you can only imagine that, not being able to go to the places that you want to go could be very restricting. That is completely defines someone's independence is whether they are able to go to the places that they want to go. And I have realized that with the demographic, sometimes individuals are a little bit nervous with this category. Um, if you are experiencing that emotion, just know that you are certainly not alone. It's a little bit scary. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to maybe, take the city bus like the slide is showing, being around strangers. But if you feel that you can't do it, um, just know that you're only feeling that way because you've never done it before and you don't know what to expect. So, trust yourself. Um, Understand that, you just are a little bit nervous, but you are capable of doing this. I assure you, I have seen people that you wouldn't expect to be able to do this. If some people can take the city bus and get around, I guarantee you can too. So let me help you. Okay, so where to get a bus pass? Some people don't even know where to get one. Maybe you're brand new with taking the city bus. Well, we can show you where to get the bus stop. If you need budgeting skills to be able to get the bus pass, we can help you with that. There is a disability bus pass. If you're not aware of that, if you don't know how to apply for one, let us help you to get set up with that. And a handy event too. So of course, if you need help getting scheduling the mobility test, let us know. Now, of course, navigating the bus system, that can be an extremely daunting task for some. Um, I'll be more than happy to provide you tips to be able to get by with that. But keep in mind, there are many, many, many ways to navigate. I can only share with you methods that work for me and things that I've learned that work for other people. That's all I can really share, but it's on to you to come up with a system that works for you. Driver's education. So if you're thinking about actually getting your driver's license, we can help you to get prepared for the written portion of your test. We have a driving simulator in the office that can help you for your driving portion. And we are working on getting reaching out to some organizations that can offer training for the driving. So if any organization here is interested in collaborating in that area, we would love to hear from you. Otherwise, just keep in touch, and that is coming shortly. Okay. Last but not least, assistive technology. So with this one, sometimes people don't even know what is available to them in assistive technology. So we can try to provide you options of what type of assistive technology is available to you for your disability. Say if someone has assistive technology, but they don't know how to use it, we can help to train you to learn how to use your assistive technology. We do have a range of technology in the office, and if it's one of those, then we can use the one in office to help train you with it. And then, of course, if you are at risk of going into a nursing home, going into a hospital, if you do not have this type of assistive technology, then on a case-by-case basis, we could possibly offer funding for you to get assistive technology so that you can remain in community-based living. Now, in addition to this, a lot of people don't, well, a lot of people seem to forget, but your computer can turn into an assistive technology device. So you can actually set up accessibility features on your computer to be more productive on it. And we are actually in July, I believe it's July 20th, we're going to be offering a computer literacy workshop that can help to give you basic computer skills and will help you to access the accessibility features on your Windows and on your Mac. Okay, so after that, I think we have questions. Yep, question time.
Yes, thanks so much, Brock. This is Holly. I don't see any questions in the chat. We've got just about 5 minutes for questions. So if anybody has one for Brock. Otherwise, this was really tremendous information. I mean, such a wide range of resources. I think, Brock, one of my questions, just if you could comment, would be for the peer support groups, do individuals need to be eligible in some way and, already participating in your organization, or are they able to just freely attend the peer support events that you have?
So as long as they qualify for our services, they receive access to everything that we offer. So I do see a question, and the answer I can give you will probably be a similar answer I can provide to her. But what a severe disability is a disability that is hindering someone from being more independent. So, if someone has some like minor arthritis, of course it's a disability, but it's not really hindering their independence as much. But if someone really has a hard time moving, of course is wheelchair bound, uses some form of a walker, then I would say that is hindering someone's independence. So it's how you define it. But if it is affecting someone's independence directly, then that's how we define a severe disability, and that's how we can offer assistance.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
And so you have a referral process and folks will come in through that door, and then
Yes.
more about the fees and the funding mechanism. I think you had mentioned about DVR in the beginning. So,
so fees, there's no fees. So we are all free. As long as someone has a significant disability. So basically, as long as they qualify, they can receive assistance, no charge.
fantastic. Well, Brock, I know everybody just joins me in really thanking you today for that presentation and all of the resources. And I know we will probably be back in touch with some other ways that we might possibly be thinking about collaboration and continuing with what was really essentially a great technical assistance for us about your services and how we can better connect with you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And thank you for everyone's time for being here. I hope I answered everyone's questions. And if I did not, I'm sure my slide will be passed around. But for those viewing, this is my contact information, email and phone number, and of course the organization website. So feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. And I did put in the chat, please, the link to the evaluation folks for our attendees. And so take a minute and, fill out our brief survey. And thank you, Brock. Thanks so
All
much.
right.
Thank you, Al, for joining. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Mahalo.